Hello and welcome to another episode of Ask the Accountant, We Have Cool Friends. Today we're being joined by Max from Crezco. Max has been in the industry for
4 years now.
4 years now.
5, yeah.
So Max works at Crezco. We'll go into deep dive into what he does now, what Crezco are bringing to the table for the accounting world at the moment, what they're looking to do in the near future. But first we're going to have a chat with Max about what his background is to understand why he's one of our cool friends.
Nice.
Cool. So, Max, give us a brief introduction into the world of Max, what you do now, how you got into the industry.
Sure.
And go from there.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks for having me, first of all. I've known you guys for a while, so it's all right. It's nice being back. Myself, I started at Dext. Originally, I actually studied to be an engineer, and I actually had modules in accounting. So could have gone to the accounting route, but I didn't. I went into the engineering route, which is probably fairly similar in terms of mathematics and so on. I don't know. And then realized that engineers don't talk as much as I would like. So I then falled into engineering sales, started out there in London, and then found my way to Dext, which back in 2018, well, Dex, it was Receipt Bank originally there. Yeah, as you guys know, probably went through the rebrand. Yeah, I started out there. There's probably about 50 people. So it was still quite a small operation here in the UK, still starting in bookkeeping automation. So that was really cool, kind of the first of the year. And then after being there for about 3 years, had a knock on the door from Ralph, so our co-founder here at Crezco, and he said, hey, we're doing some cool stuff with payments, looking to tap into the world of accounting. What do you say? And I was like, okay, let's have a look. And since our last 2 years, we're an account-to-account payment solution, mainly based for invoicing payments, but also your bill payments, payroll suppliers, which is our fairly new product. But there was this small niche in the market, and I feel like there's a lot of buzzwords at the moment about payments. What's open banking? What's payments? How can I look after my supplier payments? All that type of stuff. And that's where, we kind of all started out. That's
cool.
Brief overview.
Sounds good. Just let's just go back a little bit to where you were saying about your time at Dext.
Yeah.
So fill us in the history, like what were they doing at that point? What was their kind of main focus, everything else?
Yeah, Dext, well, Receipt Bank back in the time. So I don't know if you both use Receipt Bank. Do you not? Okay, cool. We've got no auto entry.
No.
Might have some listeners on it. So Receipt Bank back at the time, the main core aspect was how can I automate the bookkeeping for accounting practices, bookkeeping practices? How can I get my clients to upload the receipts, digitalize them, which was fairly new back then. I mean, we used to talk about the shoebox of receipts. How do you currently do that? And I was quite amazed at how manual the process was back. And this is even talking about 4 years ago, 2018. Most of the accounting practices didn't have anything in place for that. And that's where Receipt Bank kind of came in. The app was very basic. It was 2 screens. The layout of it all was just, I think it was all at the top. And there was literally a section for bills, clients, settings. And then each time someone submitted it, they also had it got cut out just before I arrived, is where you could still send an envelope to Receipt Bank.
I remember those.
And they would go through the receipts and do it for you. So that was kind of where it started out. And then they developed the mobile app, which we still use actually internally for Crezco for our expenses and whatnot. And they extract all the information, puts it through, and just you can put as many clients on as we wanted to. But it was mostly used. What I was surprised at is I saw great value in putting the clients on it, but there was a lot of practices that just use it as an internal tool completely, which we're also seeing for payments now.
Yeah.
However, payments are probably 100 times more risky. It's like, can I get access to the client's bank account? You probably don't want to do that.
Yeah. So can I ask one question then? So Receipt Bank, I know exactly what that means.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I get that.
Yeah.
Explain to me what Dex means. Go for it.
So, oh God, I would probably be fired at Dex if I didn't know that. So Dex was a massive secret from all of you guys until like the launch date of where the whole app changed, all the marketing changed, the website changed.
The uproar in the industry was phenomenal. Like You woke up in the morning and your clients were emailing you saying, "What's this Dext app on my phone?" All of a sudden,
Yeah.
I don't know. What is this Dext app on your phone?
and the orange. So they kept the orange, they kept the white, and that was like great. But when they launched it, they only told we got told a week before as a sales team. So I was on the new business team. We had the account managers. They launched it. We hadn't prepared anything, any collateral, like even for you guys. Is like loads of people. Looking back at it, all the account managers that called it D-Day because the amount of phone calls and the uproar, as you said, for like the next 2 weeks was just like. So I've got Receipt Bank stickers all over my windows, on my websites, everything, and you've just suddenly decided to change it to Dext. And to come back to your original question, Aaron, I think Dext stems from 2 words, and I can only remember one, and it was dexterity, and I can't remember the other one.
Yeah,
but
dexterity was the one I always remember.
Yeah,
and someone tried to coin the phrase of it's the Dext generation.
Yes,
it's
and
like,
they still use it. Dext generation, yeah. It's on most of their marketing collateral. I mean, they did a fantastic job, but I think it was just kind of handled a little bit. Could have been better.
It's now a much more vaster ecosystem. It's not just Receipt Bank.
Yeah.
They've got it. So
it is an amazing app. Like they have done some cool stuff on it.
It's incredible. Like that, Dext saves my firm so much money every month.
Yeah,
in time and labor and entering data. It's phenomenal.
Yeah,
like we've got auto publish rates of about 60%.
Nice,
and we're putting 4,000 to 5,000 documents a month through. So it's an incredible tool, and it's just a shame they've always never been brilliant, Dext or Receipt Bank, as they were known for just their marketing thought patterns. So like, we're just going to change the whole brand and name overnight, and you're going to wake up to it and go, what?
Yeah.
Please don't put the name into Google.
Yeah.
Should have been the start line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it took them ages to actually get the SEO for Dext up, because when you put Dext, the first thing that comes up is Dexter, because it's such a big TV program.
Yep.
And everybody was like, and then we had a massive problem with emails as well. Oh, that was probably something that, because all of our emails got changed from Receipt Bank to Dext within the day one. Like, imagine the amount of emails that were inbound and then outbound from the team. Google, Outlook, everybody was like, wait a minute, this is spam. Like, Dext.com just shouldn't exist. It's like, why is it gone? And then the IT had 2 weeks of just problems of us. We had like emails bouncing, the account managers can reach out. So yeah, that was fun. But what they've built now is really cool. I still remain really close to them. We'd love to do something with Dext in terms of payments, because I think it's another ecosystem where they did back. I don't know if you guys remember, they had something called Receipt Bank Pay.
Yeah, they had the expense card as well, didn't they? At one point, which was powered by Capital on Tap.
It was, yeah. So that was really interesting, because Dext Pay, Receipt Bank Pay could have been awesome, but it was 2 years too early.
Yeah.
It was the same thing, because we had the same request from when I was working back there, is only the owner of the app, so the Receipt Bank app, could actually pay. However, accountants turned around and said, well, I want to prep the pay runs for my clients. Like, how can I prep those pay runs? And that kind of made me tick when I heard about Crezco, is like, what's the opportunity here for the outsourced finance teams, for the accountants, which in the UK market is very different from the European market, where most small businesses go to their accountant in the UK. You go to France, you go to Germany, everybody's by themselves. Like, every business owner looks after their own finances. They just go to the accountant. I mean, like, my parents live in France. Their business, the accountant comes once a year to their house. My dad gets all the boxes out, and he just sits there for a day putting through all the tax and so on, does an Excel spreadsheet, sends it to my dad and says, does this look all right? He's like, probably. He's like, you owe us X, and then they do that now. So
that probably explains why QuickBooks France got sacked.
That is so making sense.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, there's definitely a space there, isn't there? Like, as well as publishing documents to QuickBooks or Xero, we then does it automatically auto publish it to Crezco?
Yeah.
And once they're marked as paid in QuickBooks or Xero, does that then mark them paid as in Crezco?
Yeah.
And then you've got the remaining ones that you can put into a payment run to send to your client.
Yeah.
I mean, your biggest challenge is the banks themselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you can do all sorts, but if the bank doesn't allow you to do it, then it's we really want to use the standing order feature in our firm.
Yeah.
We really want to use bulk payments.
Yeah.
But majority of our clients are with Starling because it's meant to be a hip new bank with the fantastic APIs and the fantastic free bank account.
Yeah.
And you can't do bulk payments.
No. You can't do a lot actually on Starling, which is interesting. I think they're closing it up because there is a space for banks and the neobank, and that's why Monzo, Revolut, and Starling have done so well, is because you can offer so much more to your clients. But imagine being a dev at Barclays or at HSBC and trying to do a cool app or add something into the infrastructure that they have that's been constructed over 150 years.
Yeah.
It's going to take you 2 years just to sort out and find where you're going to put it. And that's what happened with open banking, right? Is we go back to probably, I don't know if you guys remember, probably the first time that you turned bank fees on for clients. How accurate was it? Like there was transactions missing. I mean, it's the same one.
Screen scraping at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because they couldn't provide it. And the way that banks have been constructed is just layers and layers and layers of upgrades without having proper infrastructure kind of put in place and dev reviews and how can we make it better? Because why would they? And that's why a lot of banks don't like open banking.
Yeah,
as well. It's made them a lot of hard work, hasn't it?
Yeah,
and cost them a lot of money.
And they don't get anything out of it.
That's it. It's a huge investment from them with no gain.
No, and they're releasing the information that they had sole propriety on to absolutely everybody that wants to. So we're making money out of the bank's misfortune, which I don't know, not too bad.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so working at Receipt Bank now, Dex. Ralph approaches you.
Yeah.
So CEO of Crezco.
Yeah.
Did you know Ralph before this?
No, I didn't at all.
So how does that come about?
So in the accounting world, especially on the vendor side, you probably guys have already told this, it's quite a small space. So everybody knows everyone. And once you're in that space, you can get to know the guys from Swoop, from Receipt Bank. The guys from Receipt Bank would go to like Capitalize or anywhere else. So the recruiter did like the C-suite for ClearBooks. Actually sent me a message on LinkedIn, and I was at Dex, so it was locked down. We hadn't been back in the office for 2 years, kind of doing the same role. And I was like ready for a new challenge. And he was like, oh, so this new founder's on the block. He's just kind of finished his last venture and has started up this payment infrastructure.
So there's a new kid on the block.
Yeah. So Ralph, new kid on the block. The recruiter came to me and was like, Ralph is looking for someone to help basically scale the sales team. They've constructed some of the app, and they've got this cool how to get paid through open banking. First of all, I was like, open banking what? And I didn't even know we could do payments through open banking. The only thing I'd heard about is Receipt Bank Pay. But when you dive a little bit into it, they managed to integrate into Xero. So Ralph finished his other venture, they integrated in Xero and managed to put this Pay Now button on there. And I was like, this is cool. So I have and the recruiter being a recruiter, he was like, he just wants to have a coffee. I was like, okay, let's go and have a coffee, virtual coffee in the time because it was still COVID. And we got chatting. It was supposed to be a 30-minute chat. Ended up to be about an hour and 15. Got on really well. He gave me a little bit more. And then we went through like the formal kind of interview process, like how good are you at sales? Still don't know how to answer that question. But we got there in the end, started out. There was Ralph, Igor, the co-founders, 2 devs. Well, 1 dev, I started, another guy started, who's no longer with Crezco, and then another dev a week after me. So there's only 4 of us. We were in this tiny box office in Notting Hill. We then started to expand, went over the Xero app workplace and just started calling accountants. I was like, do you want to get paid for free on your Xero invoices? And I was amazed by the amount of people that said, yeah, why not? Because the thing is, because open banking payments are so new, it redirects you into your bank account. So for anybody that's listening that haven't seen an open banking payment before, is you have the same checkout screen as like a card payment. It will say, I'm paying Aaron, or ask the accountant 250 quid, the reference of the Xero invoice or QuickBooks invoice in this case, you select your bank, and then it just redirects into your bank account with everything pre-populated, and then you just confirm. First time you use it can be a bit scary because you're like, oh my God, someone's just redirected into my bank account and put a payment instruction for £250, right? What happens if it goes to the wrong place? But it's 10 times more, 100 times more secure than just sending bank details on an invoice. And as you guys probably know, not loads of accountants and even their clients don't use Stripe, don't use PayPal because the fees are extraordinary. I mean, it's like 2.9%, right? And that's straight on the bottom line. We turned around and said, you can get paid for free and get a nice button on your invoices. With QuickBooks, the integration came out afterwards. How about you give it a go? And it just all stemmed from that. We were calling and calling probably for the first 3 months. I still remember Rav, the CEO, just cold calling. He was like, no, just please use it. Just please put it on your invoices. And yeah, it just came from there. So,
and I think it's that frictionless kind of end-to-end solution that really gets people talking when they first see it, isn't it? Because there's nothing worse than you wanting to get paid for something and there's all this hoops that your client or your end customer needs to jump through to make those payments. So in the beauty I found in a solution like yours is, like you said, you send the link. That link then takes you into the bank and it's all just clicking all through, and end-to-end solution just works. And I think that's where there's a secret sauce there, isn't there, in how it works.
And also when you think about how many times have you gone to check out potentially on your phone and be like, oh no, where's my wallet? Where's my card?
Sorry, what is a wallet?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody has Apple Pay as well. So when you get even to it, I get really frustrated at this now. It's like you go and check out and they don't have Apple Pay or like Google Pay and you have to do something different. So yeah, the frustrating part of new technology, and everybody has their phone on them now. And that's what was cool about open banking payments, is you don't have to leave your desk, or you can do everything on your phone.
Or dig out your bank details.
Or mistype, maybe I want to pay RC accountant £1,000, but I then type in £10,000.
Or even...
Probably great for you guys.
Don't decide by that one, but
But every bank will check the bank account number against the name on that bank account.
Correct.
If someone's put an apostrophe in there, or a dash, or someone writes "ask the accountants" and it comes back as this doesn't match.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're suspect. It's like, oh,
yeah.
Do I? It's just time wasting for everyone.
Yeah.
Whereas with with open banking, press your link, it just sends the money.
Yeah, and the verification of payee is something that the banks put in, and it's actually a scheme that the banks have to sign into, and it's only available for banks at the moment. There's talks at this point in time to make like open banking payments, so providers like ourselves, it a lot more secure. So even when you're making, because we do accounts receivable, but we also do accounts payable, is how can I check that the supplier that I'm potentially paying for the first time through Crezco app is the right person? Because there's still an aspect of manual input of maybe what happens if I put my supplier payments details, so bank details. I'd love to say QuickBooks, but they can't do that yet. Xero or anybody else, free agent, and we pull it through. You want to make sure, especially if you're the guys that are the accountants or the outsourced finance director, prepping it for a director. If you then have to turn around to the director and say, sorry, put in the wrong sort code and it's now gone to, I don't know, somewhere it's not supposed to be, that's where we're trying to reduce as much manual input as possible.
And that makes sense, doesn't it? So you keep alluding to it. Which softwares at the moment are you fully integrated, let's call it, and which ones are you kind of having to do workarounds to get to your solution?
So there's two sides for payables, fully integrated at the moment with Xero, where it pulls through all the bills, you pay and it reconciles out, so attaches to payment. And we are currently looking at to do the same with Sage and the payroll providers. On the accounts receivable side, we are fully connected. What that means is when you send out an invoice, there'll be a payment link attached. That can be in various formats. For Xero, it's a button. So we've got Xero, QuickBooks. Sage is in beta testing at the moment, which is super cool. This is Sage Business Cloud at the moment.
And is Sage giving you the Pay Now button?
They haven't. They've gone down the QuickBooks route because at the moment the Sage Business Cloud layout is being slightly changed, and they're actually implementing a way of putting in a payment solution. So once that button has appeared, we have full access rights to it, which is great. But yes, we're encountered the same problem to QuickBooks of the link.
And it's interesting as well, because if Sage are going to give you an option later down the line, you'd have thought Sage would be the most, or the one-on-ones would be the most fighting against, because they've got Sage Pay, I think, on their own platform.
So Sage Pay got sold.
Oh, did it really? I missed that
it's
one.
not. It's not actually owned by Sage Pay anymore.
Okay. There's no like linkage there that they wouldn't kind of want to.
They probably would.
Yeah. So what's the rebrand now? Is it's not Sage Pay anymore, or is it?
No, it's still called Sage Pay, but I think it got sold a few years back. Actually, no, I think it was just a venture that they tried to go up on, and then it got sold to a bigger, probably like World Pay or something like that.
And they're still allowed to use Sage for some reason.
And it's
the branding.
Yeah. I mean,
Strange deal that one. Isn't it?
Why would you change your branding?
Yeah,
right?
but Sage have got their names on coffee makers as well.
Yeah.
I'll put the brand anywhere.
It hurts me
Sage
every time I
barista.
make a coffee. Every time I get hurt.
I still remember that post of yours on LinkedIn of using your Sage coffee machine. I just went, and we didn't really know each other at this point. I just went, that looks overly complicated and overly expensive, like its brand name.
I mean, I would love Sage to send us some coffee machines. That would be great, because they're not cheap, are they?
No.
That would be great swag to give out at for events.
Chris wasn't forthcoming with those when he did this interview in here.
Funnily enough, no.
So accounts receivable, who are we integrated? Yeah, so we're integrated fully into for accounts receivable at Xero, QuickBooks, Zoho, Sage, and also Client Engager. Client Engager is a new one, so it's a first, which is not basically an accounts production or accounts receivable where you typically do your invoices, and it's something that we really wanted to try out because on open banking payments you can set up standing orders. And for Client Engager, it's great for the proposals. Send out your proposals, have a link on it, and then it will just set up like what you would do on Go Cardless, the recurring payment for the unlimited amount or maybe 12 months, and it would just, the client could just click on one link. They don't. And the beauty of it, it's still free as well because there's no direct debit cost because we run on fast payment rails.
And just to clarify though, would you class it as a standing order or direct debit?
Standing order.
It is. So
Yeah.
It's not flexible.
So yeah, exactly.
It's just when you were saying it was like Go Cardless, I think some people do think, oh, okay, direct debit.
Yeah, we always get that. And I think there is a big difference where a lot of people see all these open banking payments and they're like, that would be super cool. And there's been a little bit of miscommunication on what open banking payments can do, specifically around, you might have heard VRPs, variable recurring payments, which was an absolute buzzword, I don't know, 4 months ago. It was like all the providers, open banking providers started to do VRPs. Yeah, great. Only one bank can do VRPs, and that's NatWest.
Wow.
There is internal VRPs. So VRPs started out as sweeping. So I don't know if you got, probably the easiest way to explain sweeping is Barclays. You've got a Barclays bank account and a Barclays card. Technically they're under the same roof. Your Barclays card is your credit card, but it's still a bank account. And Barclays is your current account. What sweeping does is when I pay Barclays off my credit card at the end of the month, Barclays or Barclays card sweeps from your current account because it's under the same roof and puts it into your account. So sweeping is only variable recurring payments at any time under the same roof and the same name.
Makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
VRPs is like a direct debit model, but for open banking. Everybody's really excited about it because it'll be instant, it'll be a lot cheaper. You'll be able to set limits, you'll be able to change it every time. But same again is open banking depends on the banks and their implementation.
Yeah.
As always.
And hopefully not that friction what we got at the moment with direct debit where it's they have to have the bank account number, they have to have all that and all that sort of stuff. And that, that if we can avoid that, that's going to be great. There's other integration though, isn't there? Because I know you've been looking at kind of e-commerce side of stuff as well. How's that going? How's that coming along?
Yeah, it's interesting. E-com is not a route that we originally go down because we saw that there was a gap in business-to-business payments because you're typically used to sending an invoice with bank details on. What happens if you get those bank details wrong? It's just not going to go to the right account. And when you look at B2C, I can go to Pret, tap my phone, leave with my coffee. And people are a lot more used to using cards. In business scenarios, you're not because it just bypasses all verification process. So e-com, where it's interesting is when you think about it, an online store wants to receive the payments before it ships the goods, especially if you're a small business owner or an e-com provider. You don't want to basically send the goods and then your card payment fails, so you've actually just lost 40 quid because you've sent the goods and the card payments failed. Because it's an instant payment, they'll receive the instructions straight away and they'll receive the funds straight away into the account so they can release it. So it's just a nicer client experience, and you can do it on your phone and whatnot. Same again, where's my wallet? The quirks that open banking can have is around 90% of single payments complete without an issue. The last 10%, when you think about an e-com store, it's a really bad client experience. So someone's checkout and it just fails in their bank. What happens if they've exceeded their transaction limit of so on? With cards, you don't have that because you can just easily go through. And there's loads of stats out there of if you make your checkout as seamless as possible, your conversion rates go out the roof. And open banking is getting there. It's just not quite there, but it's a very cool route that we're exploring.
Awesome. TBC then.
Yeah.
TBC,
Yeah, definitely. So apart from e-commerce, what is the future for Crezco? Obviously, a pay now button in QuickBooks would be lovely.
Yep.
But yeah, what's next?
Future for us. So we just recently released accounts payable and international payments. We're really excited about the international payment side. I know both of you guys have tested it out. So what that means is when you strip it down to bases, accounts payable, I have loads of suppliers in the UK. I have loads of suppliers maybe internationally. I maybe have some payroll employees. When you think about the accounting, is maybe I have some outsource that's happening in India or in the Philippines or anywhere else. It's like, how can I easily pay those guys without getting whacked by the 3 to 5% that your bank would typically charge? Same again, neobanks are getting a bit better at that, but that 3 to 5% is kind of standard. So you're losing 30 quid or 50 quid for every grand that you're sending abroad. We slash that down to about 0.25%, which we can do because of the way that the infrastructure is built, and we don't have a monopoly on the accounts because, and we were quite amazed how many people use their bank to send their payments out. So that's something that we're really interested in. We're pushing forward on the accounts payable side, but also on the accounts receivable, is how can I get paid really cheaply from the US to the UK, for example, if I have clients or consultants. That's where we're kind of going in the next year.
It's really interesting though when you say that, because in my mind, all I can see, and I highly recommend people watch it, but there's that train.
Yeah.
That you guys did on your YouTube channel.
It was so funny. Well, the day that came about, we were just all in the office, and there was an Amazon package that arrived for Ralph, and Ralph started to open it, and then we just saw loads of like small trains on his desk. We were like, Ralph, what's going on? He was like, I had a thought last night. I was like, oh God, here we go. He's like, this is perfect, because when you think about, we use payment rails, and that's what we kind of, which is the technical term of which payment rails do you use? Open banking rails, faster payment rails, card payment rails, Visa, MasterCard. And he was like, well, why don't we explain international payments in a really simple term with a magic roundabout with small trains and me moving them around? And we all looked at him and was like, what are you going on?
He's broken.
Yeah,
he's gone. It's finally snapped.
Yeah, we were like, we've broken him. It's all right. Right, he needs to go on holiday now. And it was just before Christmas. And he was like, just go. Yeah, take a week off. And Jake in our office, he does some great videos, and he was like, okay, let's film it. So we put a camera up, and Ralph was like the director, and he's just like, take a shot here, and then just, don't worry, I'll do the script and I'll just push stuff around, and it just came out really well.
It's amazing. It's such a complex topic, and it was just put down perfectly.
Yeah,
so we loved it. We loved it.
I keep meaning to do a video, so you may have seen I've brought an R2-D2 Lego unit,
right?
Which I enjoy my Lego, but I looked back at the amount that we've saved by using Crezco, versus PayPal over the years.
Yeah.
It paid for that R2-D2 Lego unit.
Nice.
And it's like that. That's an analogy to. You want to know how much you can save?
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah, and that's what we actually looked at some stats in as well. And it's the simple comparison is going from PayPal is what 2.7% now for a transaction if they pay by card, so it's really high. Stripe is a little bit less, but they put their fees up, so it's gone from 1.5 to 1.7 to now 1.9.
Kept that quiet, didn't they?
Yeah,
I did not notice that.
yeah. So all small business owners are like, oh, there's 2% gone from your bottom line.
And when you're only doing 5-10% profit,
yeah,
that's a huge cut into that profit.
Yeah, 20%. You just save 20% just by switching over to a new payment system. You're giving the same client experience. Yes, a little bit different going through your bank, but you're still getting paid. You're getting paid quicker. There's no chargebacks, and everything's pre-populated on your invoice. Whereas really interesting is the savings that you can make on international payments if you're doing it through your bank at the moment. So with us, we've got a client that has moved quite a bit of money, but they let's say it was about £500,000 into US dollars. They normally did it with Barclays. They saved $8,500 in one transaction.
Wow.
Imagine an accountant. So it was an accountant that got this client. She said, "Can you help me with this?" And I was like, "Absolutely." 2 weeks afterwards, she came back and she said, "You just saved this client $8,500. So if an accountant goes to their client and said, "We saved you $8,500," if I was the accountant, I'd be like, "Well, your fees have just gone up by $8,500 by the end of the year." Yeah. But yeah, that's what's really cool, and I think it opens up. Thinking back at my receipt bank days, is how can we empower the accountants to be more on the advisory side? How can we get the data? And payments is a whole new sort of fish that's just opened. It's like, how can I help or build an outsourced finance function? How can I help them with payroll? How can I simplify their payments out to suppliers? And how can I help them manage their cash flow a lot better?
So I think for me, like, one of the things that make you guys stand out, and one of the things that's been so, I'll use the word delightful to actually work with you, is your team. Like, you've got great people within that team that have personality. They all get it. They all want to help as well. Yeah. And it's rare these days to have such a, because you are growing. You're at that stage, but you've still got that stage where you've still got the opportunity to help and bring that in. And I think that's where and it comes from Ralph. It comes from there. It's that he knows what he's doing. He knows the sort of people he wants to bring in and everything else.
The culture, the ethos.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly it.
And I think it's really hard to, and especially everybody when they move to virtual. And what I really liked when I met Ralph, and he's very down to earth, and he understands stuff, and he can explain, like the train video, he can explain very complicated things in very simple terms. So for myself, being in sales, I was like, I don't understand a thing that's going on here, but let's dumb it down. So in the way that we try and structure, because payments can be extremely complicated. So the way that even our interview phases go is like, how can you explain a complex problem in the most simplified terms? And when you look at Igor, our CTO, it's like 10 times that. It's like, how can he explain like the back end infrastructure in very latent terms where everybody understands it, and he just does it. So the whole interview process that we put into place of bringing on board anybody that onboards onto Crezco as an employee is, first of all, you got to understand the client. The client is literally our number one value at the company. If you don't understand the client, you don't understand the problem, you don't understand what you're building or what you're trying to achieve. I know a lot of people say it, but why should you care in a very small team? It's like, there's 22 of us, even if there's one bad egg, that could completely obliterate a company, right? It's probably the same for you guys when you built a team, is how can we make sure that everybody cares about what they do, and the whole way our support structure is built, and when we show up at events is like, you've got to always be smiling. It's like, what can we do to help you today? And worst comes to worst, I think it stemmed from like being a free product, is we're not there to sell at the moment. We're trying to educate about open bank payments and then try and get you on board to try it out. And then any happy customer will probably stick with you and stay with you and will be a massive advocate. As long as you provide them the right stuff and being quite nice. So that's what we try and do as much as possible. I don't know. It seems like it's working.
It's definitely working. Compared to the some of the rest of the industry, there's definitely a shift, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's good to see.
What I find amazing as well is because a lot of you guys only see the front of Crezco, which is the sales team, and Ralph. But back end, when you look at Igor and the team that he's built of developers, it's exactly the same. the first question that Eagle asks in the interview process to a developer, have you had any customer facing experience?
Okay. Yeah.
Even if it's a restaurant or anything else, it just makes you understand. Because if you've always been behind a desk or haven't had someone shout at you for something, even if you've like dropped, I don't know, a chip or like some ketchup on them, it just makes you understand a little bit more, why should I care about this small thing? And it shows in the way that the support is handled. Is every customer is taken extremely seriously, because we're building a product around customer feedback. Is because it's quite new, what can we make to make it easier for you guys?
Yep.
The likes of Xero and QuickBooks and Accounts Productions, it's been around for ages and ages and ages. It's like, what's the next cool product? But they kind of forget about everything that's been going on behind.
Yep. So you integrate with all these accounting platforms. For those who haven't come across you before, Max, haven't heard of Crezco or heard rumors of Crezco, best way to get in touch with you?
Live chat on our website, or you can just email us, hello@crezco.com. And we also have a direct line. I know.
You speak on the phone.
020-4525-4187. That's how well I know it.
Just to clarify, this gentleman does not have any bit of paper in front of him. He just rang that off the back of his head.
Yeah. It's been on email so many times. And I think it's coming back to what we said, is the most important thing is you want to speak to a human when something's going on, especially in payments. We're how potentially holding people's money or handling people's money. If it goes somewhere else, you want to know within 2 minutes how many times you refresh your bank if you're sending in payments, right? So that's where,
And the system is incredibly quick. Like 9 out of 10 times, my bank tells me I've got money paid from Crezco before Crezco can get the email to me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It is incredibly fast.
Yeah. Faster payment networks is 90, I think it's like 90% or 92% of it is instant. It can take up to 20 minutes, depending on bank checks and regulation checks and compliance and whatnot.
Cool. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Max, and giving us a bit of a background about you, background about Crezco and where it's come from and where it's going. We both use it. We're both big fans of it. And I think any accountant that wants to reduce their own fees for card processing, etc., they should be using it. But the amount of UK use cases we can find where our clients can use it in a day-to-day basis, especially when you start looking at receivables and payables and payroll, is phenomenal. So,
exactly. We're really excited for this year. I think there's a lot of new product updates we've released and a lot of new integrations. So, we'll be around.
Brilliant.
And I think the other place to see them at is all the events. And are you going to all of them, or what do you looking at?
Pretty much going to we're going to Accountex London Digital Accounting Show, and we'll also be at Accountex North. Not sure about Accounting Web yet, depending on the timings. We haven't had that through, but those are the main three that we'll be at.
Yeah, and in our opinion, that's the best place to go talk to them, isn't it?
Yeah,
talk to human, talk to what you'll be able to see, and at that point you'll be able to see where this can actually fit into your firm.
And whether that's at the show itself or in the pub after the show.
Exactly. That's probably where I've met most of my connections, to be honest.
Yeah. That's where we've got to know each other better and work out where we can implement Crezco in our own practice better, is actually over a pint in the pub.
Exactly. And the beauty of payments is you don't have to watch a demo for 30 minutes because the platform itself is pretty damn easy to use. Send an invoice. Here's a payment link. Great. Paid. Woo.
Yep.
Finished. 5 minutes.
Set up and run.
Yep. You set up in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
We timed it.
Brilliant.
Love it.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Max.
Thanks for having me.
We look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.